In this video, we're going to walk you through multiple different ways to identify the end of a trend. We try all day, every day to catch those big time winners, guys, and big trend moves in stocks. The key in this video is going to be, how do we know when that trend is done and we should get out of that trade, and even maybe think about reversing that trend?
Absolutely. A trend is your friend. Follow the crowd, whatever term you want to use here. You've probably heard them all in trading, but the basic concept is buy low, sell high, but sometimes buy high, sell higher. Now, what is a trend? That's the first thing. We always have to define exactly what it is that we're looking for. There's no point trying to find the end of a trend if you can identify correctly what is a trend. And there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this. The most simple kind of thing would be, hey, you can look at the chart with their eyeball test and see NEO on the daily chart is an upward trend. The other thing you want to consider are, higher lows. So about from this point on, you start seeing, okay, each one of these low peaks is higher, 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 continuing higher lows. Now that stalls out a little bit here, it goes a little bit flat, then another break up, and you get higher lows. And you also get some higher highs in that regard as well. So higher highs, higher lows. That's one way you can think about it, guys. The other thing is, a lot of times you'll just want to have some kind of an indicator, whether it's going to be a trend line or sometimes you'll have a moving average, and we'll get into that. And that can be an identifying way to get into a trend or observe a trend. It can also sometimes be the way to identify the end of a trend, but that's the more advanced that we're going to talk about in the video today. So first, now that you've spotted the trend, whether it's higher highs, higher lows, whether it's using some kind of a moving average, whether it's using maybe a trend line that you draw on your chart here, who cares? You got your trend. Now what do you do, Sean?
Right, they say the trend is your friend. You do want to trade with the trend as much as possible. Sometimes very hard to identify. I use this 50-period moving average to look at everything if I'm looking at a longer term position. What I'm going to be talking about right now is on a day chart. So here you do have the same chart you just had, Neil, with NEO, and I just push it forward so you can see everything here. This is, the trend is your friend, right? Straight to the upside here until about February of this year, 2021, where we started to see it break down. Now, this is the thing. We're talking about how to identify the end of a trend right now, okay? So here it is. So even though we have some consolidation up here, right, we don't know that it's going to break back down lower, so you still got to stay in this trend, thinking that you could break higher, higher, higher. If you notice right here, we don't actually break the 50 period, so the trend continues to the upside. However, right here, we actually break this 50 period back to the downside, signaling the end of a trend. But the thing is here, this is the secret, in my opinion, right now. You got to get a 50 period moving average break with guys, some kind of support also being broken. So here you go all the way to the upside, and then we have this little gap up here between 55 and let's call it 57, 58 that happens on about early January here of 2021, right? Then you break that to the downside. The minute that you see this is not holding anymore, right? This 55 is not holding, then you break to the downside. You always want to wait for at least, you say T+1 here, so the break plus one more day to identify that, yes, this trend is real, and then it comes right back to the downside, and we don't even retest this 50 period until you're all the way down here at 40. So basically, a 55 break, breaking the trend to the down. Like, look, here it is upside. So you say, uh-oh, the trend is broken up here. We're starting to head back. Yes. You are going to give back some profits, but it doesn't mean the trend has stopped. It hits the 50 period and continues to go back up. Again, no previous support broken. If we broke down here 38 or so to the downside, then I could say the trend would stop. So you take all your profits from here, the trend breaks at 38 and you get out. But that never happens. It continues to go to the upside. You finally get the break right here, Brendan, that gives you that move to the downside, signifying, to me anyways, that's the secret sauce right here on that trend break. Support plus your lines.
Beautiful example there of something coming back through a moving average, signaling, time to get out. I'll give you another one here on an intraday basis, guys. I want to show you a beautiful trend to the upside on an intraday basis. And let's talk about volume as well. That can be used as a way of knowing when this trend might be running out of steam. So here we go. This GERN up today, 45%. But look at this trend. This is a beautiful trend. Neil was talking about higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, all the way up here to 220. Take note of almost a crescendo type volume event that happens at the very, very top. So the highest volume of the day happens down here when we get to the very top of the actual move. And then also take note that while the stock is starting to come back in, the volume is also starting to come back in. So all those buyers that got really, really excited throughout that entire move to the upside end up giving up, as you can see. And then as we're coming back in, the volume is moving back to the downside with the actual price of the stock. So if you get that kind of end of move, big exhaustion volume spike, another thing that we can look out for to signify the end of a possible trend. So now that we know how to identify the end of a trend, guys, the obvious question here, how do we make money off of this?
Well, the obvious thing is, look, if you're in the long position and maybe you've gotten yourself into a long and you've got it with the trend and you're considering ways to get out. And I think if you look at the examples that both of you guys had mentioned there, there's going to be an obvious area where you get that moving average cross. When the volume breaks down, you can then get out on the next consolidation, things like that. You can also think to play a reversal like a short. Now, we've shown you daily charts. We've just shown you, Brandon just showed you an intraday chart. I'm going to show you a couple of weeks worth of action on a 15 minute. So, you know, CCL here, from bottom to top, you're going to get a move from 27. You're going to come all the way up to 31.50. Now, you can sort of see on daily level, you're going to get some higher highs, higher lows, a clean upward trend. And then when it gets to this top, you see it maybe kind of break this previous resistance and turning into not necessarily support at that level. So you're at that top, okay, you've broken and you're no longer making higher lows there at 30.24, but then you test the high again. And now you have what's called a double top. You have a double top, and then you've got the bottom end of this range at 30.25. Let's call it 30.25. It's really 30.24. It doesn't really matter. So you've got yourself a range, a double top. We then test this high again. If you happen to be along, you could say to yourself, okay, it could still break out here, and I'm going to hang on to it, but maybe I'll set a stop at that low. Well, of course, the other thing you can do is simply look at that support level, the top support level for a breakdown short trade. Now, in this particular situation, you take the break, whether or not you want to have a stop all the way to the high or a nice tighter stop here at either this cluster or this cluster here, only about a 50 cent to $1 worth of a range. That's up to you, whether you're day trading it or swing trading it. Once that floor is broken, it signals a trend reversal. It gives you opportunities to short off of that previous support as resistance. So yes, you can cover a long position by looking for that trend reversal. It's also a fantastic way to enter into a short trade there. So you get the double top, you get that clear range bottom, it then does not break that top again, and then you take the breakdown of that level, which doesn't occur till a couple of days later. That's good for a day trade. That's going to be good for a bit of a swing trade as well, and then you can use that level going forward to now short the reversal.
Good example there. I'm going to use a 3-minute chart for another name just to give you guys some more opportunities here. What about Square? So Square on a 3-minute, you have volume weighted average price rate here, which is going to be green. And then you have our 50 period, keeping it the same colors as our Neo chart, blue. So you get the break here, signifying, okay, the trend is on to the upside. So now we're just, look at this, no red candles. This is the area of concern I want to talk about on a 3-minute chart. So how do you make money is what we're talking about right now. How do you capitalize on these trends, right? End of a trend. Okay, this is the thing. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to sort of word it a different way. So here we come, right? Is this an end of a trend here? Well, guess what? We actually don't wind up breaking VWAP. So I just want to say that if you break here, then you come back down to the end of the trend, right? But what I look for is a little bit different. So again, how do we make money? How do we capitalize on trends, right? To me, this is the end of a trend, okay? So how do we capitalize on it? To me, we wait for the pullback to volume weighted average price, then we see the action there, and then we can follow the trend again back to the upside. So here we go again. Here's Square coming back in right now on a 3-minute chart. So if we can get to about 238.70 right here, which is going to be volume weighted average price, then we could say, okay, it's ended, it's coming back down, it's giving us that retest here. So what we could do is fade off. We see the trend is upside, it's coming to an end now. If it's a false breakdown right now, that's how we can take advantage of this. So the trend is coming to an end, but we're going to wait for a false end and then take this long off this volume weighted average price. It's actually setting up right now live for us. So again, we'll twist the word words around a little bit and say, not how do we short an ending one, but how do we look for a stock that we like the trend upside, we like the space, it's square, right? So we like that space right now with fintech. So we're looking for a trend to go to the upside, and there it is. It's happening right in front of our face. Here's the dip down, right? Look at this, Brendan. Here's the dip right down there, and then a bounce right back up. So, wow, I wish I would have took that instead of educating you guys here, but that's a perfect example of how to use a trend in your favor there.
We did not plan any of this and worked out perfectly. So great example of a pullback, an entry versus a specific line or price. In Sean's case, talking about an indicator there live right in front of you for a great example there. So lots of great stuff there, guys, when it comes to not only how to identify when a trend is coming to an end and potentially, time to get out of a winning trade and a winning position, but a few ideas there on once a trend has come to an end, what happens next and how can we take advantage of that pullback or retracement. Hope you like that one, guys. Here's Valeria.
Hey guys, thank you for sharing this helpful information. Dear viewers, please subscribe to this channel to see more great videos.